This is a Ramping Up Your English book review. If you're enjoying our theme of trains and railroads, you might want to check out a catalog from Historic Rail. Their free catalog is aimed mostly at model railroad enthusiasts, but I found some treasures in here worth spending a few dollars on. Sometimes I don't order anything, but I still enjoy the pictures of trains from railroads that no longer exist. This cover features the Burlington Northern, the railroad that pulled the California Zephyr from Chicago to Denver. You can order a model engine or artwork of Burlington Northern, this passenger train pulling into the station. Some pages are devoted to a single railroad like the Great Northern, whose Empire Builder route is now operated by Amtrak, or the Santa Fe with its distinctive war bonnet that's designed on its locomotive. Passengers on Amtrak Southwest Chief are retracing the route of the Chief, a famous route operated in the past by Santa Fe Railroads. Model railroading is a hobby that's too expensive for me, but I've enjoyed videos, books, and t-shirts that I've ordered over the years. Visitors can visit their website. A book review on a catalog? Why not? I'm John Letts. And welcome back to Ramping Up Your English. This is Episode 1, Segment 3. We're taking the time to become familiar with the topic of our first unit, which is trains and railroads. Any topic will have its own vocabulary, and this one's no different. As you watch this video clip, listen for words that have to do with trains and railroads. When the clip is over, we'll make a list. After over 150 years, trains continue to move people and freight across the United States. We're using the topic of trains and railroads to elevate our level of English. This Amtrak train is pulling out of the Lafayette station. As it picks up speed, we hope to speed up your mastery of English through a content-based approach. We look at commuter trains and even trains driven by remote control. This coal train passes through Colorado. A great amount of coal is moved by train. In West Coast ports, huge equipment like this lifts freight containers off ships and sets them on train cars, an example of freight shipping. This freight train is pulling hopper cars. Those freight containers are carried great distances east. Here they catch up with us at El Paso, Texas. El Paso is also a major stop for Amtrak's Sunset Limited train. Many people work to keep passenger trains moving, including conductors. Engineers drive the train. Some sleeping car passengers have lavatories in their rooms. Sound effects and all. Amtrak takes passengers where private railroads used to. Amtrak trains even pull private cars from former railroads.
How we doing, everybody?
Hey, this is our friendly car attendant.
Here's a crossing signal. The Sunset Limited takes passengers over the highest railroad bridge in the United States, crossing the Pecos River in Texas. Speaking of bridges, here's a highway bridge over the Calcasieu River in Lake Charles, Louisiana. And here's Houston, Texas. This is a steam engine hooking up with passenger cars on an excursion railroad. Open cars like these help passengers get a great view.
Wind was going 90 miles an hour up on the top of the ridges.
So the world would know you can ride the train from Boston to Sacramento on the Train Line Express.
Stay here and do this. I'm going to go see about the...
Many other countries have passenger trains. These electric trains serve passengers in Germany.
We're in Switzerland.
Railroads are a very important way of getting around in the state of Alaska.
Somebody'd rather sit further back with our group. Is this okay?
Places you can drive your vehicle from
Welcome back to Ramping Up Your English. As I said at the beginning of this episode, I learned Spanish as a second language. That gave me some insight into the struggle of learning a second language and continually pushing toward greater language proficiency. When I was at intermediate level of Spanish, I wouldn't have known what all these words mean in the video clip, but I would have been pretty sure about some of them. Let's look at some of the words mentioned in the video clip. At this point, I'm only interested in the words that have to do with trains and railroads. Words that identify things or people. These would be nouns. So here are some words that I jotted down from the video. I heard them a number of times, so I think they must be important. Most of the English learners I work with are Spanish speakers, so I'm using Spanish as an example of a home language. The word train sounds like the Spanish word tren, and there are trenes throughout the video. I have high certainty that train and tren mean the same thing. Words that are similar and mean the same thing are called cognates. There are likely to be cognates in a number of languages for the word train. I also hear the word railroad a lot. No cognate comes to mind, but the part of the word road I happen to know in English, so this word must have to do with the surface on which the train travels. The Spanish word for freight is unfamiliar unless they use the word carga, which is close to the word cargo. Freight sounds a little like fright, but I don't have to consider this what that is. So I'd say this is an unknown word. That's what I'll consider it. Passenger for Spanish speaker is a cognate for pasajero, an easy cognate. I would have known as an intermediate Spanish speaker. Do you see how the content provided by our unit can help identify meanings of some words? I got 3 out of the 4 words with some certainty. As English language learners, you probably already go through this process, but slowing it down like this can bring a greater level of certainty and awareness. What about the unknown word freight? You could let it slide until you hear it used a number of times in context. You could also look it up in the dictionary. I recommend this children's dictionary for the simplicity of definitions. I do have to warn you about dictionaries for second language learners. The definitions are sometimes harder to understand than the word itself. Using context is always a good step. In this case, the dictionary says goods or cargo carried by trains, ships, planes, trucks, etc. As long as you know what the words good, cargo, and carried is, this would work for you. Write this list down to add to the previous list. Now, if you can't get it down fast enough, you'll find it on my website. Go to letscreate.org. This is your homework if you decide to do it. Homework assignments help to elevate your English proficiency level faster, but you can still improve your English without doing these assignments. So those are your 2 homework assignments today, listing the sights and sounds of the video clip in segment 1 and finding the meaning of these words in segment 3. Remember, you can watch or download today's program by going to archive.org/details/RogueTV and look for Ramping Up Your English. You can also go to letscreate.org and follow the links. This is episode 1, and we're now closing segment 3. If today's program seems too easy, please remember we're just getting the foundation for our unit today. If it seems too hard, feel free to repeat the program at the websites I've just mentioned. This concludes our debut episode of Ramping Up Your English. Join us next time for episode 2 on RVTV Voices. I'm John Letts.
You've been watching Ramping Up Your English, a support program for intermediate-level English language learners. Learn more. Visit our website at letscreate.org. You can also watch or download today's program at archive.org/details/RogueTV. Join us next time on RVTV Voices for Ramping Up Your English.